Hi everyone, welcome to Into Enlightenment with me, Nancy. I have meditated and called in all my beloved spiritual guides, and I guess what I wanted to talk about was, I think it was Thursday, somebody called and left a message, and the message was 10 rounds of gunfire, and that's it. They did leave a phone number because they must be dumb. So the phone number is 1-509-299-2871. To me, anyone that does not leave a message and just gunfire is threatening me with physical bodily harm. So if anyone knows this phone number, 1-409-299-2871, please contact me either by messenger or my website. It did cause a little bit of alarm for me because I really don't post things that would warrant physical death to come to me. But you never know, there's a lot of different people out there. So my topic starts out with, my guides wanted to start out with forgiveness. And it's like, forgiveness, I'm thinking, I'm threatened. And, what do you do when you first get threatened, right? You defend. And I don't have to worry about defending myself. But as I stayed in the meditation longer, what's underlying forgiveness is a lot of resentment and anger and fear-based feelings that I had. So what I wanted to share was so what started with forgiveness brought up a lot of things for me inside, and then I wanted to share how you could get to forgiveness as well when there's some fear-based resentments. And so what I wrote down was, let me get my glasses, was is there anyone you need to let go of? Like, replaying the same hurt, trauma in your life over and over again, a memory that you just can't let go of. And when a memory keeps coming up and you keep rehashing it and you want to keep talking about it, it's definitely, you're not in the forgiving stage yet. You're in this place of trauma. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you know that that's what it is, and how long do you want this trauma to continue. Now, I have had plenty throughout my life, and I do know it's a process, but knowledge is everything, right? And so if you've got a resentment that you're talking about years later, even towards yourself, a resentment that, a divorce and things didn't work out, friends, betrayal, everybody's got one. But when we're walking around with it inside of us, it eats at us, right? It eats away. First of all, it starts in the mind, and it takes our peace. You can't let it go. We run it over and over. You could be trying to go to sleep at night and you're running things through your head because you haven't been able to let go of it or heal from it. So what I wrote was, it's the first step of a resentment. It kills you slowly, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And it can take time. So it takes place first in the mind and then physically. And it starts with, not having any peace. I'm just going to use something silly, but it may not be silly to somebody, but to me it is. But if it's not to you, don't take it personal. It's important to you. I'm going to say when I was a little girl, I played with dolls. My brothers used to always kick my dolls and throw over my carriage. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And I would be like so upset because those were my babies. And they didn't get it. They were young boys. I was a young girl, and they were young boys, and they were just trying to tease me. So I used to bring it up every now and again, And finally I just told them, I forgive you for that. Out of the blue. And they were like, huh? I go, yeah, that really hurt. Those are my babies. And they still didn't get it because it didn't faze them. But me, I carried it. So I had to let them know, hey, I forgive you for that, right? It's teasing. And I got a resentment from it. And I couldn't let it go until I could let it go. And I was an adult when I let it go. It didn't affect me and my job and all that, but every once in a while. So that's a light one, okay? But what a resentment will do is it steals your peace of mind and then steals your physical body. And it can happen over time. So there's other things that can physically hurt your body as well. But I'm not talking about those. I mean, some things are real and you don't do anything and you have, physical ailments. And I'm sorry for that, for anyone who's suffering with that. If you want, I will say a prayer for you and pray for your recovery and put you in my prayer group if you're in need of healing. But in a resentment, what happens is you get headaches, upset stomach, arthritis even, back pain, hair loss, eczema, you can get cancer. That's what you can get with carrying around resentment, anger, and fear. It eats away at you slowly. I had pretty much all of that stuff. I had cancer. I could not let go because I needed to talk about it to the person, and I was so afraid to do it, but I couldn't talk about it to the person. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. It was pretty serious. They told me to get my life in order. My daughter, who was an adult, spoke for me. And then all of a sudden, there were no more secrets. It was out. And lo and behold, from getting my life in order, I'm 9 years cancer-free. So you never know, right? That's my story. It may not be your story. Don't take on anything that doesn't fit. And then the other is spiritually, because we feel like, how can this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? Why do I have to live this way? Why is nothing going my way? I've done this, I've done that. And spiritually, it's because we're still carrying around our own anger, our own guilt, our own shame, our own resentments towards other people. But yet we expect other people to forgive us for our things that we have done. So if we can't forgive, how do we expect others to forgive, right? And one way to start that forgiving, and this one took a while because my oldest daughter's father was abusive, not only physically and mentally to me. I had to go through Independence House, but he was abusive to my baby, and I had to prove it. And to do that to a child, like he never saw her again at 18 months. I used to have to drive to Children's Hospital after supervised visits with his parents and have her checked from head to toe. And I got enough evidence. You can't not stop bringing them to an abuser when it's a court order until you go back to court and you have proof and da-da-da. And I did all that. And I was going to a therapist at the same time. But I was really angry and pissed off at him. And, the first thing I did when I finally had to know that it was eating me up alive and that my daughter is safe for the rest of her life. And she did play therapy until she was in the age of 6. And then the therapist said she would probably have to go back when she hit puberty just for a couple sessions. And she did when she hit puberty, and it was just for maybe 3 sessions. And she's good. She's adjusted, because I was there for her. But my forgiveness started about her father. I pray he's sober when the bus hits him. So it was sort of a prayer. It was a beginning. It was the beginning of someone I really hated. But when you don't start the forgiving process, it's like taking poison and hoping the other person would die because they're moved on to their life. They may not even know what's affecting you, and you're still eating that resentment, that poison, hoping they will die, and it steals our joy, it steals our life, it steals our peace. So another way to start forgiving, of course, is therapy, exercise, and living a good life, the best life you can live, and it's a process. It's a process. And I can say to you that I do forgive her father wholeheartedly. And there's other things I needed to forgive in my life, and I have done that. It wasn't easy because I had to look at the parts I played in it. But a lot of it I did not play a part in, and those are the parts that I really had the most resentment at. And the parts that I did play in different times in my life with other relationships, I had to forgive me. So, praying for the other person, praying for yourself, there's therapy, exercise, eating right, eating good. Not every day's great, right? Not every day's a good day, but it's a start. And it's a start for you and no one else. This is your life. You live your life the best of your ability so you can help others by example. That's my words of wisdom today. God bless you all. I love you all.